Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2024 Annual Meeting of the Travel Industry Council of Ontario. My name is Michael Levinson. I'm a Minister's appointee and the Chair of the TICO Board of Directors. We're pleased that you've chosen to join us this afternoon. The materials for this meeting were posted on TICO's website in advance of the meeting, and a link to them can be found below the video screen. TICO CEO Richard Smart and John Wilkinson from Weirfolds LLP will be joining me in presenting today. Tracy McKernan, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, will act as recording secretary for the meeting. Christina Wilson, Stakeholder Relations Manager, will serve as moderator. We're pleased to have a message from the Honourable Minister Todd McCarthy today, and welcome our colleagues from the ministry who are joining us virtually. We really appreciate the support of the ministry team. Next, I want to recognize my fellow board members who have dedicated their time and expertise to serve the organization over the past year. The elected industry directors are Andrew Dawson, Doug Ellison, and Robert Townsend. The elected public directors are Heather Colquhoun, Archana Gupta-Hart, and Christopher Warren. The other ministerial appointees are Angela Blanis and Zaid Lama. I'm also pleased to welcome TICO staff. On behalf of the board, I wish to thank you for the work that you do to fulfill our important consumer protection mandate. Finally, to all the registrants, industry stakeholders, and members of the public joining us, thank you for making the time to attend. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that TICO's office is located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are and reflects our histories. TICO honors all Indigenous voices as part of our commitment to a more diverse and inclusive workplace and society. I have a certificate of service of notice from the Corporate Secretary indicating that notice of the meeting was duly given to members of the corporation in accordance with our bylaws. The quorum for the meeting is 20 members. Based on the number of logins, I can confirm that we have a quorum. I now declare this meeting properly constituted. Next, I'll take a few minutes to go over the rules of procedure and some aspects of the virtual platform we're using today. First of all, I'd like to inform you that this meeting is being recorded and may be posted on TICO's website. Throughout the meeting today, you will see our presenters and the presentation slides in the center of your screen. On the right-hand side, you'll see a question and comments area, which for voting members is also where you move and second any motions. Please take a moment to enter your credentials in order to access that panel. Voting members will be asked for a confirmation code, which will be emailed you in real time as a two-factor authentication. During the meeting, if you have questions or a comment, please use that questions and comments area in the top right of your screen. All questions are recorded. If we do not answer your question during the meeting, we can respond to you at a later date. The questions and comments box is intended to provide an opportunity for meaningful and productive discussion related to today's agenda. Questions that are not relevant, unprofessional, or pertain to a specific complaint or investigation will not be read out. And finally, if you're experiencing technical issues, help is available. If you're having trouble hearing the audio, please first make sure that the video is not on mute. Our provider also recommends that you exit all other programs on your computer. Most technical issues can be resolved by refreshing your browser. If you're still having issues, please use the help button located at the bottom of the page. Our provider will respond to you by email and help you sort out your issue. You could also email them using the email address displayed on the slide. I'll now discuss the voting procedure and process. At designated times during the meeting, voting members will be asked to move and second, as well as vote on the motions presented. Each voting member is entitled to one vote, in person or by proxy, for each registration held on every question submitted. Branch offices do not receive a vote, only head offices. There are two ways to access the voting panel. About 15 minutes before today's meeting, all voting members received a reminder email that included a username and password that can be used to log into the Vote on Motions button below the video screen. If you use this option, a pop-up will appear and it will serve as your voting platform. Alternatively, a prior reminder email included a direct link to vote. If you choose to use that link, it will open in a separate tab or window in your browser. You may want to take a moment to log into the Vote on Motions button or to access the direct link in your email. When you get to vote, please navigate to your voting panel. Once you have the voting panel open, you won't need to log in again for each motion. Voting members will be asked to move and second the motion using the questions and comments box by typing in mover or seconder. Once the motion has been moved and seconded, we'll open discussion on the motion. Voting members can submit comments or questions related to the motion by using the questions or comments box. at the top right of your screen. General questions from non-voting participants will be addressed at the end of the meeting. When the discussion is closed, the chair calls for the vote. Eligible voters should navigate to their voting panel, either in the pop-up or the new tab, and you can cast your vote there. You will have a chance to review your vote. Please click Confirm to ensure your vote is recorded. You'll see a confirmation screen once the vote is cast. The next vote button will be activated once we reach that portion of the meeting. A vote of the majority of those voting shall be required in order that a motion pass, unless the law or bylaws require a greater number. In the case of an equality of votes, the chair will have a casting vote. Once voting is complete, the chair will share the results. The declaration of an outcome by the chair shall be recorded in the minutes and shall be conclusive evidence of the fact. Numbers, percentages, abstentions, and the identity of those opposed may, but do not need to be recorded. Let's start with a practice vote. Ensure that voting members are comfortable using this technology. Please remember, if you are registered for the meeting as a non-voter, you will not have this feature available. Can I have a mover for, do you drink coffee in the morning? To move the motion, please type mover in the questions, comments, and moving box, located in the top right of your screen.
The motion has been moved by Sean Fleming.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? To second the motion, please type the word seconder in the comments and questions box.
The motion has been seconded by Robert Townsend.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the vote. As a reminder, voting members will have a Vote on Motions button located below the video screen, which will bring up the voting panel. Your login and password were emailed to you just prior to the meeting. If you use the direct link from yesterday's reminder email, the voting panel will be in a separate tab or window in your browser. When you're voting, please be sure to submit your vote. Once the vote has been recorded, you will see a confirmation message within the voting panel. You may also see a Next Vote button. This will activate once we reach the portion of the meeting. So now try making a vote. I'll mention that for each vote, we allow a minute for people to make their votes, and you can see in the bottom of the screen a countdown timer.
The results are in, and the majority of people do not drink coffee in the morning.
That's great. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 2 in the agenda, the minutes from last year's annual meeting. The minutes from the annual general meeting held on September 26, 2023 were made available on TICO's website in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have any discussion points arising from the minutes? Please type any comments in the questions and comments box. We'll give the people a moment to type in any discussion points.
There are no questions or comments about the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, no questions or discussion points have been raised. We can proceed with the meeting. We are very fortunate to have a message from the Honourable Minister Todd McCarthy today. Ms. McCarthy is the Member of Provincial Parliament for Durham and has served as the Minister for Business and Public Service Delivery and Procurement since last September. Prior to his election as an MPP in 2022, Ms. McCarthy worked as a lawyer in Durham and across Ontario. He also served as a trustee and a vice chair of the Durham Catholic District School Board. In his spare time, Ms. McCarthy coached and sponsored minor hockey teams and taught as an adjunct professor at both Queen's University Faculty of Law and the Durham College Faculty of Justice and Emergency Services. I'll now invite Minister McCarthy to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Ontario's Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement, I am honored to have this opportunity to offer a few words for your annual general meeting. Thank you to members of the board, the Travel Industry Council Ontario employees, registered travel agents, and wholesalers who have contributed so much over this very busy and transformative year for the travel industry and for TICO. I wish to commend you all for your perseverance over the last few years. Our government understands the impact that COVID had on the travel industry, and I am pleased to hear the sector is recovering very well to near pre-pandemic levels. This would not have been possible without your unwavering commitment to the tourism industry, and I thank you all for your dedication to ensuring that travelers have the opportunity to safely explore our great province and our world. With this meeting underway, TICO marks 1 year under a new governance structure and a new board. I want to acknowledge the leadership of Mr. Levinson and Mr. Smart. Our government values your collaborative efforts to improve governance practices at TICO and your commitment to protect travel consumers in Ontario. For nearly 3 decades, the Travel Industry Council Ontario has worked to enhance professionalism and consumer protection in our travel industry. And TICO registered travel agents provide travelers with peace of mind to ensure their trip will be safe and enjoyable. The recent governance changes implemented by the board further reflect the importance of adapting to today's evolving marketplace with greater balance, efficiency, and effectiveness. My ministry has worked closely with TICO to ensure it has plans in place to address each of the recommendations of the Auditor General's 2023 Value for Money audit. I recognize the progress TICO has made, as well as your openness and transparency in reporting on your ongoing work. With the recent implementation of a new fee model, you are enabling TICO's operations to be adequately funded so that you may continue your important work safeguarding Ontario's travel industry. My ministry is carefully considering the Auditor General's observations and the Auditor General's recommendations to undertake a comprehensive review of the Travel Industry Act and TICO, and to assess the value of the Travel Industry Compensation Fund. Our government remains committed to working with TICO to protect consumers and support a safe, fair, and informed travel services industry in our province. Together, we are building a smarter, safer, and stronger tourism sector. Thank you. I wish you all a productive and engaging meeting.
Thank you, Minister McCarthy. We are happy that you could address our AGM today and look forward to continuing our work with you moving forward. Next on the agenda are the annual reports from the Chair, CEO, and Registrar. We'll start with the annual report from the Chair. As we move forward in our agenda, I'd like to take a few moments to highlight some of the key initiatives that the TICO board has prioritized over the past year. Looking back at the progress since the last time we met, I'm pleased to share that Ontario's travel industry is growing again, and the post-pandemic recovery is largely in the past. Despite the hurdles presented by global events and economic uncertainties, we've witnessed incredible resilience and innovation throughout the sector. This gives me great confidence in the bright future that lies ahead. And just as the industry continues to evolve, so too does TICO. In December 2023, the Office of the Auditor General of Ontario released its Value for Money audit report of TICO. The report presented TICO with opportunities to enhance the way it operates. It also highlighted the transformational changes within the sector since the organization was first created. The report has been a catalyst for enhancements across the organization, and the board has been actively engaged in monitoring TICO's approach. I'm pleased that significant progress has already been made. TICO's CEO, Richard Smart, will provide more details during his remarks. One of the key highlights of this year have been the transition of TICO's board to be more representative of our stakeholders. Last August, in response to the minister's orders TICO received, we recomposed the board to be more accurately represent the voices of consumers, industry, and government, with 3 directors from each area. We since welcome new directors who bring diverse perspectives and invaluable expertise. We also continue to focus on the journey towards a skills-based board where ongoing governance development will remain a priority. These fresh viewpoints have enriched our discussions and strengthened our overall governance and oversight processes. Residents will have the opportunity to vote for newly elected directors in just a few moments to represent both the public, consumer, and industry voices around the boardroom table. Earlier this year, TICO also launched the new Consumer Advisor Council and Industry Advisory Council. These two new councils play a critical role in advising both the board and management on matters related to consumer protection, challenges and opportunities affecting Ontario's travel industry, and overall emerging trends. The individuals who were appointed these councils reflect diverse areas of leadership, expertise, broad consumer perspectives, and industry knowledge. The changes to TICO's board structure, coupled with the creation of new councils, position the board to better understand the diverse viewpoints of TICO's different stakeholder groups and the communities it serves. Next, let me update you on the board's most critical roles. In a rapidly changing travel landscape, risk oversight remains one of the board's top priorities. As you look ahead to the many changes in the horizon, both within our organization and the broader environment, we're focused on identifying and addressing risks that could impact TICO's ability to deliver on its consumer protection mandate. At the same time, we're staying ready to seize new opportunities that align with the organization's mandate, vision, and mission. The board is actively engaged in discussions about the long-term implications of the Auditor General's recommendations, the rise of emerging technologies and artificial intelligence, and the evolving economic and political climates, both locally and globally. We're also closely monitoring how consumers' sentiments and expectations are shifting and what that means for TICO. Our continuous focus on risk oversight will ensure that we're well prepared to meet any of the new challenges and continue protecting consumers. I'd like to take a moment to thank my fellow directors, as well as the TICO leadership team and staff for their dedication and hard work over the past year. Their contributions have been instrumental in navigating a busy and challenging year. I'd like to again extend my gratitude to Minister McCarthy and the entire ministry team for your ongoing collaboration and support. As we look to the future, I'm confident that TICO will continue to deliver value to consumers while fostering a trusted travel marketplace in Ontario. I'll now ask Richard Smart, President and CEO, to provide his update. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions towards the end of the meeting during other business. I encourage you to hold any questions until that time. Richard?
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, and a warm welcome to TICO's 2024 Annual General Meeting. It's amazing another year has passed by so quickly, and what a year it's been. We find that conducting these meetings virtually is both effective and efficient, and attracts higher attendance, given how accustomed to technology we have all become. These meetings allow registrants and other stakeholders from every corner of the province to have the same opportunity to connect and engage with us. I'd like to personally extend my own appreciation to the Honourable Minister McCarthy for his kind and impactful remarks a few moments ago. The commitment, dedication, and continued support by you and the entire ministry team are greatly appreciated. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of our stakeholders joining us today. I'm pleased to report that Ontario's travel industry is back. Throughout the year, we've seen more and more evidence that the travel sector is experiencing solid top-line growth. At the same time, we've seen a continuous focus on customer experience, efficiency, and importantly, innovation. And yes, we also know that registrants remain diligent with their consumer protection obligations. The fiscal year ending March 2024 reflected Ontario gross sales of $18.1 billion, well ahead of the prior year, and on par with the pre-pandemic period. Despite this return to normalcy, we know for some registrants, the burden of additional debt and the competitive landscape continues to add to an already competitive environment. TICO's compliance team remains vigilant but reasonable as it monitors Ontario's registrants for overall compliance. In December 2023, TICO welcomed the Auditor General of Ontario Value for Money Audit Report and the recommendations aimed at enhancing TICO's operations. We have since issued 2 public reports to stakeholders with updates on our progress so far. To date, we have completed 21% of the 29 action items targeted at TICO. By our scorecard, our progress is tracking according to the implementation plan approved by our board of directors. I know you must be wondering about the status of those recommendations that may require regulatory changes and for a broader legislative and TICO mandate review. As of now, these recommendations remain a priority for the minister and ministry as they consider all initiatives under their mandate. We are committed to keeping registrants and other stakeholders informed as more information becomes available. Following a comprehensive review and public consultation, TICO introduced a new funding framework and fee model effective April 1, 2024. While no one likes to see fee increases, we kept the aggregate fee increase equal to approximately inflation, around 3% overall. The new fee model addresses past issues raised by registrants and also by the Auditor General, and so we're pleased with the progress to date. As we shared during these public consultations, this fee review was just one step forward as we evolve our regulatory model and funding framework. TICO's overall fiscal results were solid, better than our board-approved budget, and an improvement over the prior year when the industry was still recovering. Our bottom line reflected an operating surplus for the fiscal year, the first in 3 years. At $7.3 million, total revenues were bolstered by strong top-line registrant sales, which translated into higher assessments. Along with strong sales and fewer registrant closures than anticipated, renewal revenues exceeded expectations. We also experienced steady new registrant applications contributing to above-budget revenue. Notably, our investment income and portfolio managed by TICO's financial advisors performed exceedingly well, generating in excess of $1.6 million during the year. And at $5.2 million, our expenses were higher than the prior year by $805,000 or 18.5%. Approximately half of this increase was due to increases in overall staff headcount as TICO lifted its hiring freeze to address its operational needs, many of which were reflected in the Auditor General's report. And also, as TICO moved away from the government funding received in the prior 3 years, the ministry oversights contributed $358,000, or about 44% of this annual increase. However, importantly, TICO's operating expenses were under budget. Consumer claims against the compensation fund remained low at $109,000, reflecting a strengthening travel marketplace and a strong regulatory environment. In total, TICO generated a net surplus of $1.9 million compared to a $2.3 million deficit the prior year, well ahead of budget expectations. And as a result, the compensation fund balance increased during the year by $1 million and now has a balance of approximately $24 million. The balance of surplus was used to build reserves consistent with best practices. As we look at the rest of 2024 and beyond, we have an updated 3-year business plan that guides our priorities and activities. If you haven't had a chance to do so, I encourage you to download a copy found on TICO's website. Since our March year end, we've continued to see momentum in the Ontario marketplace, with inflation now returning closer to historical norms and decreasing interest rates. We remain optimistic for the year ahead. We know, however, that consumer affordability remains a significant concern and are carefully monitoring changes in consumer confidence related to future spending decisions. As I've mentioned before, I truly believe that resiliency and innovation are the pathway to success. Both registrants and TICO must continue to work together to deliver services, exceed customer expectations, and ensure a trusted marketplace. You continue to support your clients, showcasing why travel professionals are so valuable, especially following these challenging times. So in closing, I'd like to thank the Board of Directors for their ongoing support and guidance. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to the entire team at TICO. As we embrace a more diverse and inclusive team, our commitment to TICO's consumer protection mandate and excellence in service remains at the forefront. And finally, I'd like to extend a thank you to everyone who took the time out of their busy day to join our AGM. Communication is key to enhancing our regulatory model, and I look forward to your continued engagement. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We'll now move on to the report from the registrar. Richard Smart will read this report on behalf of Dorian Werda, as Dorian could not be with us today. Richard?
Thanks again, Michael. First, I'd like to provide an update on the state of TICO's registrations. Our registrant base has remained steady over the past year, signaling resilience despite the challenges industry faced during the pandemic. On March 31st, 2024, there were 1,921 registrations, which is one more than the prior year. We experienced 135 voluntary terminations throughout the year, which is nearly 60% lower than the 328 terminations the year before. This remains a difficult operating environment for many registrants, with debt assumed during the pandemic, high interest rates, consumer expectations, and general affordability. At TICO, we stand by our regulatory compliance program, but focus on working closely with registrants to achieve compliance. Over the past year, we saw a steady stream of new registrations with 76 new registrations processed, and this is down from the spike of 140 new registrations as the industry exited the pandemic years. It really is exciting to welcome new companies to the industry, expanding the range of choices available to consumers. Now I'd like to provide an update on the TICO certification process and the flow of new travel advisors joining this industry. Separate from a business holding a TICO registration, all travel advisors must complete TICO certification program and pass the certification exam. Over the past year, we've seen a historic number of people complete the program and obtain their TICO certification to sell services in Ontario. In fiscal year 23-24, there were more than 10,000 exams written, an increase of 41% compared to the previous year. This is the highest number of exams written in a single year ever. The future of the travel advisor profession is looking bright. To further enhance the certification curriculum, we're developing a new enhanced online interactive e-learning program, which is expected to begin rolling out next year. This new online program reflects the very best in online instructional design, includes adult learning principles, and will be on a much more user-friendly platform. We'll share more details as we get closer to the launch. We've also been building our relationships with community colleges that have travel and hospitality programs. We're doing this to increase awareness and enrollment in the certification process and ensure a continued pipeline of individuals choosing a career in travel. Education and compliance are fundamental to our consumer protection mandate. We've conducted dozens of free webinar sessions for registrants on various topics, such as advertising, disclosures and invoicing, trust accounting, and the preparation of the new verification statement. Our goal is to help the industry understand and uphold Ontario's consumer protection regulations. Our virtual orientation session for new registrants has also been successful in familiarizing new entrants to the industry with TICO's role and their compliance obligations. At its core, TICO is a consumer protection organization. It's crucial for consumers to know the value and benefits of purchasing their travel from a TICO registered business. And if something goes wrong, it's just as important for consumers to know they can turn to TICO for assistance. Over the past year, TICO resolved 281 written consumer complaints, which is an increase of 38% from the prior year, and more than double the number of complaints resolved 2 years ago. Additionally, TICO handled nearly 1,100 telephone complaint inquiries and more than 1,200 email complaint inquiries. Our team assisted consumers in obtaining nearly $355,000 in restitution. We've seen a significant increase in airline-related complaints, and our team has worked tirelessly to ensure that consumers know where to turn, even when a complaint is outside of TICO's jurisdiction. This includes referrals to the Canadian Transportation Agency and clarification on when the air passenger protection regulations may apply. Our consumer complaints team has maintained its commitment to service excellence, providing guidance and support to travel consumers when they need it most. I'm pleased that the team has achieved a 90% satisfaction rate from post-complaint survey responses. Our team is also committed to balancing enforcement with education and communication. We truly believe that a strong focus on awareness is key to protecting the public and maintaining a trusted travel marketplace in Ontario, while also ensuring enforcement tools are ready when needed. Looking ahead, there are exciting opportunities to further refine the way we carry out our regulatory activities. We look forward to another productive year supporting TICO's consumer protection mandate and a strong Ontario travel marketplace. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We'll now move on to the approval of articles of amendment and bylaw amendments. These changes are necessary for TICO to transition to the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. The articles of amendment and amended bylaw have been available to members on the website since August 23rd, 2024. A webinar was also held on September 11th, 2024, to allow all registrants to ask questions about the articles of amendment and bylaw changes. A video of that webinar was posted on the website. I'll now invite John Wilkerson, partner of Weir Founds, LLP, to briefly review the bylaw amendments and articles of amendment. John?
Thank you, Michael. The bylaw amendments and the articles of amendment are, as Michael mentioned, being done to comply with Ontario's new Not-for-Profit Corporations Act 2010, known as ONCA. The articles of amendment have been prepared in accordance with ONCA's requirements, and the TICO Board of Directors approved the form of the updated bylaw number 1 and the form of articles of amendment on July 30th. The form of the updated bylaw number 1 and the articles of amendment are being presented to the members for confirmation and approval at today's meeting. ONCA was effective on October 19th, 2021, and TICO must update its bylaws to comply with ONCA by October 18th of this year. Failure to meet that deadline will essentially result in automatic amendments to TICO's bylaws to comply with ONCA, making the bylaw very difficult to understand if the changes that are being proposed today are not approved. Non-compliant provisions will be invalidated if TICO fails to update its bylaws by the deadline. Bylaw amendments are necessary for TICO to transition to ONCA, and the articles of amendment are to be filed under ONCA in order to comply with certain ONCA provisions. Some of the bylaw amendments that have been made include the following. Definitions and terminology have been modified based on ONCA. For example, the terms ordinary resolution and special resolution have been added to the bylaws. Language regarding virtual meetings of members and of directors has been updated. The meeting notice provision has been updated to allow for electronic notices. The proxy provision has remained, but it's been updated to comply with ONCA by adding confirmation that a member may appoint a proxy holder. Qualifications for directors is a provision that is now worded in compliance with ONCA, and the term president has been removed as unnecessary under ONCA, whereas it was required under the predecessor statute, the Ontario Corporations Act. ONCA's approach regarding director and officer identification and regarding conflicts of interest has also been adopted in the updated bylaw number 1. In doing the ONCA amendments with respect to the bylaw, some general governance amendments were also made, including moving the definitions to the beginning of the bylaw, removing outmoded references to certain aspects of governance, such as members hearing all reports at meetings, whereas some reports are now read online because of virtual meetings being held in that manner. The section titled Objects has been deleted because TICO's purposes, objects, are already outlined in its articles. In the bylaws, references to dates that have already passed have been deleted. And the quorum for members' meetings has been lowered to 5 members. With respect to the Articles of Amendment, that document is a short government form and just requires a few items to be included. Those items are the nonprofit nature of TICO, TICO's membership classes and their voting rights, being the registrant members and the director members, and the provision from bylaw number 1, which addresses the destination on dissolution of assets, net of liabilities, has been added to the articles. Once again, all of these items are required by ONCA, and once approved, the articles will be filed with the Ontario Business Registry. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Michael.
Thanks, John. I will now read the resolution regarding the Articles of Amendment. Whereas the corporation was governed by the Ontario Corporations Act and is now governed by the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, 2010, ONCA. And whereas ONCA defines the words articles in part as follows. Articles means any instrument that incorporates a corporation, including letters patent. And whereas it is considered desirable to amend the articles of the corporation by way of articles of amendment as presented to the members. Now therefore be it resolved that the submission of articles of amendment to the Ontario Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement in the form presented to the members is hereby approved. Can I have a mover for this motion? To move the motion, please type the word mover in the questions and comments box.
The motion has been moved by Sean Fleming.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? To second the motion, please type the word seconder in the questions and comments box.
The motion has been moved by Angie Miniasi.
Thanks. Are there any questions regarding the Articles of Amendment before we proceed to a vote? Please type any questions in the questions and comments box.
There are no questions or comments coming through.
Thanks. Okay, therefore we'll open the voting. Voting is open. We will pause for 1 minute to allow voting on this motion.
The motion has carried.
Thanks. We'll now move to the approval of the bylaw amendments. I will now read the resolution to confirm the amended bylaw. Whereas it is considered desirable to amend the current bylaw number 1 of the corporation such that the bylaw reflects such amendments as have been passed by the directors for presentation to the members. Now therefore be it resolved that the amendment of the current bylaw such that the bylaw reflects such amendments as have been presented to the members is hereby approved. Can I have a mover for this motion? To the motion, please type the word mover in the questions and comments box.
The motion has been moved by Sean Fleming.
Thanks. Can I have a seconder? To second the motion, please type the word seconder in the questions and comments box.
The motion has been seconded by Angie Miniasi.
Thanks. Are there any questions regarding the bylaw amendments before we proceed to a vote? Please type any questions in the questions and comments box.
There are no questions or comments coming through.
Okay, thanks, Christina. The voting is now open. We'll pause for 1 minute to allow the voting on the motion.
The motion has carried.
Thanks. We'll now move on to the election of directors, starting with the industry director position. There is one elected industry position available on the board of directors. The Governance and Nominations Committee of the board solicited applications for the industry position, and the slate of eligible candidates is listed on the screen. We're pleased to present a diverse group of candidates from the travel industry. Information about the candidates was included with the materials for this meeting and posted on TICO's website. As the slate of candidates exceeds the number of positions to be filled, this election is required. We ask that members choose one industry candidate. The candidate with the highest number of votes will serve for a 3-year term. We'll now pause for 1 minute for you to vote. Please choose one of the industry candidates for the board of directors. And while you're voting, I want to thank all candidates for putting their names forward. It's very much appreciated. I mentioned that those candidates who may not be chosen today, that we structure things that every year there will be one position coming available. So we could try again next year. That's 1 minute. Thank you. The voting is now closed. I'll wait for them to tabulate the results and let me know. Here we go. Okay. The winner of the 3-year elected industry position is Gregory Luciani, CEO Travel Only. Congratulations, Gregory. Look forward to working with you. Next, the election of public directors. The Governance and Nominations Committee also solicited applications from experienced leaders beyond the travel industry for the one elected public position available on the board. 24 applications were received and reviewed by the committee. The board has a matrix that sets out the competencies that are required on the board so it can effectively execute its responsibilities to oversee the travel industry and protect consumers. Assessments and gap analysis are regularly conducted to determine if there are any gaps. When reviewing the applications, the board is looking to find a candidate that best meets the needs of the board. This year, the board had a gap in the legal experience competency that it was looking to address. The Governance and Nominations Committee recommended Jeffrey Steiner for the public board position, as he has the required skill set and a wealth of board and governance experience that would benefit the organization. The board confirmed the recommendation of Jeffrey Steiner for the public position. Mr. Steiner's biography was included in the meeting materials on TICO's website. I'll now read a motion to approve the candidate for the public director position. Be it resolved that Jeffrey Steiner is elected as the public director of the corporation for a 3-year term. Can I have a mover for this motion? To move the motion, please type the word mover in the questions and comments box.
Andrew Dawson has moved the motion.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? To second the motion, please type the word seconder in the questions and comments box.
Angie Miniasi has seconded the motion.
Thanks. Okay, voting is now open. We'll pause for 1 minute to vote on the motion. Once again, I'd like to also thank all the candidates who applied for this position. It was very heartwarming to see such a great and diverse group. And again, next year, there will also be another positioning opening up for the public position that people could apply for again.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. Congratulations to Jeffrey. We're happy to have you join the board. On behalf of the board management, I want to welcome the new board members. We look forward to working with you over the next year. Now we'd like to thank the following directors who are leaving the board. Doug Ellison. Doug has served as an industry-elected member on the board since September 2020. He was most recently served as chair of the Audit, Technology, and Risk Management Committee. He was also a member of the Regulatory and Business Strategy Committee. Archana Gupta Harit. Archana was elected to the board as a public elected member in September 2023. She was a member of the Audit, Technology, and Risk Management Committee. Archana also served as the board representative on the cyber incident team since February 2024. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Doug and Archana for your commitment and dedication to advancing TICO's consumer protection mandate. I'll now ask Richard Smart, President and CEO, to review the financial statements for the year ended March 31st, 2024. Richard?
Thank you, Michael. An audit of TICO's financial statements was conducted. The auditor's report is included with the financial statements in the 2024 annual report. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. The auditor's responsibility is to express an opinion on the financial statements based on their audit. It is the auditor's opinion that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of TICO as of March 31st, 2024, and its financial performance and cash flows for the years then ended, in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. TICO's financial statements can be found beginning on page 43 of the annual report.
Are there any questions on the financial statements? Please type any questions in the questions and comments box.
There are no questions or comments.
Thank you. So as no questions have been raised, we can proceed with the meeting. Thanks, Richard. I'd like to introduce you to Rob Klaus of BDO Canada LLP. Hello, Rob.
Good evening, everybody.
Does anyone want the auditor to read his report, or can I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the auditor's report? The motion to dispense the reading of the auditor's report. Can I have a mover for this motion? To move the motion, please type the word mover in the questions and comments box.
Robert Townsend has moved the motion.
Can I have a seconder? A second the motion, please type the word seconder in the questions and comment box.
Andrew Dawson has seconded the motion.
Okay, are there any questions for the auditor on the financial statements before we proceed to the vote on the motion? Please type your questions in the questions and comments box.
There are no questions or comments coming through.
Okay, we can now proceed. The discussion period is now closed. We'll proceed with a vote on the motion. Please vote.
The motion has carried.
Thank you. I want to thank Rob Klaus for attending our meeting and not reading the auditor's report today.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Good night. The next item of business is the appointment of auditors for the next year. The TICO Board of Directors is recommending BDO Canada LLP as TICO's auditors for 2024-25. BDO has been TICO's auditors since the 2016-17 financial year. TICO issued a request for proposals in 2022, and BDO was again the successful firm. I'll now read the motion. Motion to retain BDO Canada LLP as auditors and authorizing the Board of Directors to fix the auditor's remuneration. Can I have a mover for this motion? To move the motion, please type the word mover in the questions and comments box.
Angie Miniasi has moved the motion.
Thanks. Can I have a seconder? To second the motion, please type the word seconder in the questions and comments box.
Zemri Salai has seconded the motion.
Thanks. Discussion on the motion is now open. Are there any questions about BDO Canada LLP before we proceed to a vote? Please type your comments or questions in the questions and comments box. We wait a minute to give members an opportunity to type in any comments or questions. The moderator will then read any comments or questions submitted.
There are no questions or comments.
Thanks, Christina. The discussion period is closed. We'll now proceed to a vote on the motion. We'll wait a minute to give members the opportunity to cast their votes. Voting is now open.
The motion is carried.
Thanks, Christina. We're now on to other business. Does anyone have any general questions related to TICO matters or regarding TICO's annual report and business plan they would like to address? Please type your question in the questions and comments box. Our moderator is standing by to relay your questions to the presenters for a response. If we're not able to answer all the questions received during today's meeting, we'll provide written responses following the meeting.
Perhaps we'll give it another moment or two to see if any questions come in.
Okay, thanks.
It does look like there may be a question, so we'll just hold on one moment. I'm just waiting for it to come through.
Okay. While we're waiting, I'll give a tip for next year, is that if you had a question in mind before the meeting, you could type it up on your computer and then you could cut and paste it into the question box and save yourself time and typing it up manually from scratch.
We do have a question that has come in from Patricia Milstra. The question asks, the Auditor General concluded that TICO, it says, illegally moved millions of dollars from your trust account to your general account. Does TICO acknowledge that you broke the law with your trust account? And what is the message?
Okay, I'll ask Richard to answer that.
Thanks, Christina. I'm happy to take that question. The question refers to monies that were moved from our compensation trust account into general operations. This has been a practice that has occurred since TICO's inception in 1997. It's been raised to us by industry in the past, and we've had many discussions with the government over the years. And in fact, the Auditor General, as was Patricia correctly pointed out, was a practice that was not consistent with the spirit of the regulation. We've taken those comments seriously, and we've put a number of actions in place to address that for future years. So what I would take some exception to is nothing was done illegally or underhanded. We've been very transparent over the years with stakeholders, with the government, with the board of directors. And any monies that were moved to support operations were consistent with the overall mandate that we have around consumer protection. Having said that, we acknowledge the fact that this is a practice that we wish to discontinue, and we're on track right now for making those changes in the coming fiscal year. So thank you, Patricia, for your question.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
I don't see any other questions coming through.
Okay. Now, please remember that TICO staff are available to answer your questions throughout the year. Stakeholders are welcome to send comments and queries to TICO, and they will be directed to the appropriate person for response. So that concludes today's meeting. I want to thank you for spending time with us today. A recording will be made available on TICO's website in the next few weeks. Thank you for attending TICO's 2024 annual meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Have a nice evening.